If you're thinking about a low effort vacation and would consider a cruise, and by the way, I'm not talking about the kind that's like a giant floating carnival, then I have 7 suggestions for destinations. And these would work whether you're traveling solo or with others. One of the destinations is a cruise I've already booked, and I will be making videos about that, so stay tuned for those. This is actually the first video in a series where I go through the journey of considering a cruise, planning, booking, packing, and then right until we're on board. The criteria I chose for these was number 1, no mega ships, and number 2 are affordable. And by affordable, by cruising standards, I'd say anything between $100 and $350 per day is about the right range. You can definitely cruise for less than $150 a day, and I will show you how in a future video. So I'm keeping it on the affordable range. All of the cruises are between 7 and 14 days for the most part. The reason why hold on, it's cold. The reason why I gravitate towards the more calm type of cruise is that I hate loud noise and I hate crowds. I found out in the last couple of years that I am neurodivergent, but I found a way that cruising works for me. Let's talk about the destinations. The first destination is the Caribbean. It's a classic. It's beautiful. It's easily accessible from a lot of places in the United States. It does come with one caveat in that I find the ports very, very loud. There's always been loud music welcoming the ship. But apart from that, it's probably a good idea to cruise off-peak. So that's something like May to September. December, January, February, those are the very, very busiest months. There's so many itineraries to choose from. Best region for less chaos is the Southern Caribbean. There's just fewer cruise ships. There is routes that go in and out of Barbados, which is one I did. One of the best excursions I did though was river tubing in Dominica, and it's great because outdoors, and it was perfect, great weather, good vibes, and not a lot of need for conversation. Everyone is focused on getting down the river. There's a Western Caribbean itinerary from Fort Lauderdale on Emerald Princess that looks really, really nice. And there's also several Holland America, Western Caribbean itineraries, so those would get my choice. My next dream destination is Alaska. The whole season is April to October, and the peak months are June, July, and August. So again, I would avoid peak season. Holland America has lots of itineraries. The Noordam goes Vancouver to Seattle via Alaska, which looks pretty cool. There's also Coral Princess that goes Vancouver to Anchorage. So because they're starting and stopping in different cities, it means you get to spend extra time either ends of the cruise if you like, and explore those places, which I think is really nice. Now, my ultimate dream cruise is on the Viking Venus. The cost is considerably multiples of what I would normally pay, but if you want to see what the difference is like, have a look at this video from Gary over at Tips for Travelers, and you'll see a difference. Right, so if you like the idea of being on a ship because you have lots of open vistas and fresh air, but you're not so sure about the whole ocean part, then river cruising. I always associate river cruising with Europe and like the Rhine and the Danube, but I had a look, and Viking River Cruises has lots of great options in the United States and Canada. I really love this journey that goes from Milwaukee to Toronto. It's stopping off in places like Mackinac Island, which if you've ever seen Somewhere in Time, it's a really lovely film. Kind of old now, but it's really nice. That's set there. And then going through Erie Canal and all of that. Looks great. Oh, apologies, my microphone died, so I've switched over. Hopefully you can't tell the difference. Another classic cruising destination is the Mediterranean, and there's lots and lots of places you can go. I have done the Adriatic, so sailing from Greece to Italy, and that was a lovely selection of stops. And it was, again, quite port intensive. I think there was only one sea day, but it was incredible. For the Med, I actually might try Virgin Voyages. What I understand about Virgin is the food is really incredible and it's a very inclusive experience. I'm sure it can be loud and party, but at the same time, I don't know. If anyone has experience, I'd love to hear it, especially those who are sensitive to noise. The other thing about Virgin is they are adults only. They have a lot of 7-day cruises that are round trip out of Barcelona or Athens. My next choice would be a transatlantic, and they're usually 7 days, although you can find some longer ones. Sometimes they have some extra stops that kind of makes things a little bit more interesting, but also doesn't add too much to the time. There's one crossing that goes from London to New York that stops in the Caribbean, which would be kind of the best of both worlds. I've only sailed Trans-Pacific so far, and it was a really good experience. It was 18 nights, which is a bit long, but I think it's because I was not pacing myself. I was on the Ovation of the Seas, which is one of the larger ships. It holds, I think, up to 4,900 passengers. But I do know it was maybe 2/3 full. And because it's such a big ship, there's plenty of places, there's plenty of room for people. So on that particular crossing, there wasn't that many children. On royal ships, they have an area called the solarium, which is an adult-only space. And it was very busy during the day. But in the evening, when everyone was either at dinner or shows or other bars, I would often go in there and it would be very, very quiet, and I loved it. My next destination is New Zealand. Most cruises around New Zealand aren't very short. They're about 14 nights. So plan on that, plus whatever travel time it takes for you to get to that part of the world. So Holland America has several options. There's the Noordam from Sydney, that's a round trip. The one I chose is on Norwegian. And the reason I chose Norwegian is because they are really well known for having a good program for solo travelers. I'll be interested to see how that compares because I didn't feel unsupported when I was traveling on Royal Caribbean. So, but we'll see. We'll talk about, yeah, I'll find out. Norwegian Sun, they have itineraries that go between Melbourne and Auckland and then back again. So Norwegian Sun is a smaller ship, and I know that will be in port on those days as opposed to, on having to get the tender in. So I'm looking forward to that. It actually includes overnights in Sydney and Melbourne as well. So, I mean, that's convenient. So convenient if you've never been to these places before. I've already spent several weeks in Sydney, but it'll be fun. Maybe I'm gonna hopefully catch up with some friends. The next destination I think would be really cool is Asia, and just to be on some of the smaller ships. So again, Holland America, they have a 14-day round trip out of Tokyo that has a really incredible looking itinerary. And then there's also this other one that's a Tokyo to Hong Kong. I need more time and more money. Also worth pointing out that Viking River Cruises has a Mekong River cruise. I've been on the motorized longboat in the upper part of the Mekong in Laos, and it was probably one of my favorite experiences ever. So it might be nice to see what the Mekong is like further downriver. And it just looks like an incredible itinerary. I think as well, if it's your first time in Asia, it's nice to be on some kind of tour or be otherwise supported. Of course, you can do it completely independently. People do it all the time, but yeah, it's just a nice option. So those are my picks. Please share in the comments if you have any other suggestions or recommendations. If you hate cruising, well, the main thing is finding the right cruise ship for you. So in my next video, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into how to choose a cruise and everything from pricing to what it's like on board. There's lots of ways to do it. If you're watching this before that video's come out, then have a look at this video next, which is the only other video I've made about cruising so far. And if it's been longer, then I will link this video right here.